I do training in accessibility awareness, where I start the training by going over what I use digital information for, and it is every part of my life. Digital information, as accessible as it can be, is not going to work for just absolutely everybody. So you have to have different formats in which you can deliver. The biggest barrier is a lack of full awareness.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inclusive Futures, Voices for Change, a British Council-funded podcast series where we explore how inclusion and accessibility are reshaping higher education and beyond. I'm Dr. Ying Wu from University of Dundee, and today's episode is titled Access Without Barriers, Rethinking Inclusive Communications. I'm joined by James Duncan, Accessible Information Officer at Disability Information Scotland, who works at the front line of making communications accessible for everyone. James, it's wonderful to have you with us today.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Great. Let's start with your own journey, James. What inspired your career in accessibility and led you to your current role at Disability Information Scotland?
Okay, well, my original degree is in computing. So I did that, and I had got a bit of experience working in computing. A few years after that, I decided to do a postgraduate in community education. So while I was doing that, I was also working with young disabled people in a school environment. And when I finished the community education postgrad, I got a job working in an employability program. I decided not to go back to IT. So I got a job working with an employability organisation, setting up employability options for young people with disabilities. I then went on from there. I then reintroduced my IT skills. I was given funding by British Telecom to open up a computer training centre and deliver training in what at that time was called ECDL. It's the European Computer Driving Licence, which was a British Computer Society qualification in how to use Microsoft Office. So, and I taught adults with various disabilities through the ECDL, and they gained that for their jobs or whatever. I then moved around a bit in that job, did a lot of other training stuff, and I was laid off at the start of lockdown. There was going to be a bit of a funding thing, and I was laid off. And when I came back to work, I got a job with Disability Information Scotland to provide training in how to make digital information accessible. So it's basically joining the two parts of my education and experience. We've got the IT, and we have the working with people with disabilities, the sort of the third sector stuff. So it's basically a mixture of my experience and jobs. That's it.
I heard that you previously worked with both young people and adults when you are trying to train them.
Young people as in 16 plus, not
16 plus, yeah. Have you seen any major differences when you have these two different target audiences in your training sessions?
Not in terms of, I didn't notice that much in terms of the ECDL training because, some of the young people had come straight from school, so they were used to sitting studying.
Yeah.
So they had less time out of the studying environment. So they just sort of flowed back into it. Maybe some of the adults who hadn't been in education for quite some time. But no, there wasn't really that much of a difference. They had a very high success rate, this particular project. It ran for 2 years with BT funding, had a high success rate, and then, like everything else in the third sector, the money ran out. And
yeah, that's such a shame, though, because they're helping so many different people changing their lives. But because of this funding issue, and you were laid off,
Well, no, that particular project ended, and I went to a different part of the organisation for a
So
few
the
years.
same
Yeah,
organisation.
but yes, eventually it would be a funding issue that caused the redundancy. Yes.
So from your personal observation, did you see the funding issue? Is it getting more?
All the organisations I've ever worked for in the third sector, so far there have been three. Two of them, one of them I've been laid off from and had on previous occasions been given 90 days notice of potential funding issues.
Okay.
Another one I was given, while working for them, I was given 90 days notice of potential funding issues, but it never came to be. There wasn't a problem in the end.
Okay.
But yes, it is. The third sector is
Difficult.
You're just waiting for your
fate, yeah.
You're waiting for the hastily called team meeting to tell you that you've got,
Or not, yeah.
the 3 months statutory notice that funding is about to dip. But yeah, it's standard in the third sector. It's not something that has, even when I was paid off, it's not something that affected me unduly. I would go work in a bank if I didn't want to.
Okay, but your passion is in this area.
I think this is a great job. I like this job. Again, it's like any other third sector job. It's funded and funding runs out.
So we do need to raise more awareness in this field to hopefully help more people who are in need. Okay, now let's come back to the accessible communications first. So in your experience, what does accessible communication mean in everyday practice, both for organizations and for individuals who rely on accessible formats?
Okay, well, firstly, accessible communication is, and I do digital information, so my main area is specifically digital, so it's websites, social media, documents, etc., anything that's delivered digitally. So firstly, to point out that it is an everyday thing. Everything. If I do training in accessibility awareness, where I start the training by going over what I use digital information for, and it is every part of my life. It is how I got my job. It is how I do my job. It's how I get paid. It's how I handle my finances. It's entertainment, communication, studying. It's every single part of my life can happen or needs to happen on my phone or on a laptop. So it's to start off with. It is built into our lives now, to the point where when I first started to use the internet, it was an advantage to be able to use digital information, to access digital information. Now it's a necessity. It is an absolute necessity. You can be really, as companies realize that they can move over to the digital realm to handle their business and maybe not need to pay people to sit on phones or to answer the doors or whatever. You don't need people. There's only so many people. They'll move to that. It's an obvious business move. It's, there's always the constant call to save money. But this means that everybody needs to be able to access the digital realm. And so it's incredibly important that the accessible facilities are open to people to access this digital realm. Another part of my organization deals with taking phone calls from members of the public, from people with disabilities and their carers. And it comes up very often that people have to go to websites to get a blue badge, like a parking badge. They can't access websites. They can't access their benefit claims. They can't, they're phoning us to ask if there's somebody they can speak to, like a person, or there's an office they can go into or something like that. Often there's not. So accessible communication is incredibly important. It's every part of our lives now, but it's not as accessible as it should be. And that's what it means on an everyday level for people, is they're people that need to access, there are a lot of people who need to access information that still have difficulty.
Yeah, I can tell from your thoughts that some people have been left behind by this kind of digital transformation.
Well, it is, yes. There are. I think it is basically a lack of awareness. I think a lot of people who produce digital information, who make websites or do social media or documents or whatever, I'll generally find them when I'm training. I'll generally find that they know something of accessibility. They know there needs to be some level of accessibility, but what I find that a lot of people aren't aware of is the extent of it. It's not just make your document available to a screen reader. It's how you format your document, left aligned. It's how you make it available, how you do the titles, how you write the text. Maybe you need to make the text simpler, less complex. Are there images on it? Are there alt text? Is it properly describing them? Can people read through it in a linear fashion? And is it there's a lot more to think about than just does your document work with a screen reader?
Yes.
And a lot of different disabilities have a lot of different issues, a lot of different accessibility issues. So I find, as I said, when I do training with people, they will have a starting idea of accessibility and then find out exactly how big it is, exactly how many things need to be considered, color contrast levels, all these kind of things, not putting red on green in your graphics and stuff like that. So many things.
So some web designers may thought that they knew it, but once they start your training courses, they will realize they actually didn't know it as much as they should.
As I said, I'll often get people with some idea, and sometimes you get people with a really good idea, but they will generally always, we do feedback for us, they'll generally, even the ones that know quite a lot about accessible information, will generally come out of the training with something they didn't know having been resolved. There's just so much to it. When I was writing the awareness course, and as I said, I had to list what I did.
Yes.
I just didn't realize how much I did online, and I didn't realize how much accessibility issues there can actually be and how much strategies are required. Everything from screen readers to pointer sticks that people hold in their mouths, to switches, to overlays for your screen. If you have scotopic sensitivity, you have a color overlay on your screen, changing contrast levels. There's so much. There's so much to consider when you're making everything as accessible as it can be.
Yeah, and that's why our project and that's why your organizations are so important in helping people to actually start planning early. So we have the accessible website, accessible documents from the very start, and to make sure more people are being included and more people can access the important.
Also, if I could point out here as well, is also to consider not just digital information, but to have your information delivered in different formats. Digital information, as accessible as it can be, is not going to work for just absolutely everybody. So you have to have different formats in which you can deliver. Like a website, as accessible as that can be, might not work for everybody. So you have different formats. The government, for example, has a number of different formats. They'll send out paper if required, things written on paper, or they'll allow people to download things to print out, where reading on a screen is just not going to happen no matter how accessible it is. Also to consider, if you can't use digital information, what do you use instead?
So just being digitally inclusive is not enough. We also need to consider different formats of the delivery, including printed formats and even other different formats, audio formats,
video formats, different types of written formats. For example, Easy Read. I don't know if you come across Easy Read formats. Just to be aware of them all and to be able to deliver on them all. For example, our organization's website recently introduced basically anything on our website can be downloaded as either a PDF or a Word document, or we can print out for people and send them it. If they're looking for information on a particular topic, we have information pages. We can download that for them and send out to them. We have done in the past. Because, yes, sometimes digital is just not going to work no matter what you do.
Yeah. That's very interesting, because sometimes if you just print directly with the built-in browser option, it doesn't work. So you have to design it specifically for print-out versions as well.
People would call us and ask for information on something, and we would say, can you access our website? They would say no, and say, okay, we'll print out for you. What's your address?
And then just maybe hand them in person or send it over to them by direct mails. That's very helpful. Now let's discuss the barriers people face. So what are some of the most common information or digital barriers people encounter, whether in public services, universities, or workplace settings?
To go over the previous question, the biggest barriers are a lack of full awareness from people who are making digital information. We'll often get phone calls. As I said, my particular area is digital information, the provision of digital information in an accessible format. However, if you could take a step back, one of the barriers is a lack of equipment from people, or a lack of broadband, or etc. It's the lack of ability. It's not a case of not being able to actually, physically type in something on the internet, on the World Wide Web. It's you can't access the equipment to do it, which is, I think, a fairly large barrier. In terms of digital information, it's just general inaccessibility, websites not being developed aesthetically, if you like, the look of a website in terms of its text or its menu structure, or maybe have the menu from hell, the menu with flyouts and the drop downs and stuff. It just goes on forever.
Too much,
we get a lot of comments about menu systems, forms that you have to fill in that maybe don't work. We've all gone and filled in forms that don't work, or you get to the end of them and you can't submit it, and it tells you you've made a mistake, but it doesn't let you correct the mistake, or and then it doesn't submit, and then let's say by the time you fill out a 3-page form and you've got to do it again, and it's like, I can't do this. Can I phone somebody
to help them actually fill it for them?
So forms, general sort of website design comes up quite a lot.
It's so interesting, because those are supposed to be designed for disabled people, and then, however, the design of the forms themselves are not accessible.
I'm not necessarily. No, it may be an organization that potentially didn't know how to make accessible information, so they're not. They should be designing them with disabled people in mind. Obviously, with the percentage of people who have accessibility issues is quite high. However, they might just not know, and we'll often come across websites where they, you can see the color schemes all over the place. It's almost impossible to look at. Green writing on a red background and stuff like that. But it's just because they didn't know.
Yeah.
And forms, they've made a form and they haven't maybe considered how complex it is. They maybe haven't given enough information. And you've got little boxes that you fill out. We teach as well to give people enough information to fill them out. They maybe haven't told them exactly what information they've got to type in those boxes, and then it may generate an error if they put their date of birth in the wrong format or something like that, or they put their address in the wrong place and stuff. And it's just the person that's designed the form hasn't given enough information for somebody to be able to fill it out. And everybody's filled out forms. Just, what's the answer to this one?
Yeah, sometimes there should be a little icon, right?
And the ones I don't like are the ones that won't let you pass until you've filled in every box. But you can't fill in every box because some of the boxes aren't relevant to you, so you end up typing something random into the box.
Put errors, the wrong information in it, just in order to be able to submit it. Yeah, just not fit for purpose at all.
I had to fill in a form, like just with that the other day. I basically had to write on several places that this has nothing. I can't answer this.
So you just write, I cannot answer this.
But I have to put something in, otherwise it'll come. Well, the box will be red, and it'll
You
say
just
you've got to fill it.
make up something.
So again, yeah, we hear a lot of stuff about forms, accessibility issues with forms. If you consider the amount of things you have to do online now, I pay tax online because I'm self-employed as well. I handle all my finances online. I have to open bank accounts online. I apply for jobs online. And I encourage other people. My previous job included encouraging people to apply for jobs online. So yeah, if you really have to think about forms, the size and the complexity of the forms that you're putting online, so that they're just not overwhelming and they work. And by the time you get to the submit button's not grayed out.
Yeah.
You just this is not going to work.
I know, and it's such a waste of time and energy and efforts and all those mental stress. I'm just curious. It's like, what's the percentage that you see this kind of mistakes happened in different websites, in all the websites that you might be using?
Well, my specific job, I'm not doing a lot of analysis. I see it where it happens. I'll often, either through my own surfing personally or professionally, I'll see it. One interesting study that I've come across is it's called the WebAIM Million. It's an organization which analyzes the homepages of 1 million websites, just the homepages, and they analyze them in terms of their accessibility, and they're accessible or not. Their last scan, they detected over 50 million accessibility errors. So it's an average of 51 errors per page. So that gives you an example of
how significant the issue is. They stand
how
to
significant the issue is. Yeah, that's a better figure than I can give you just through my own surfing or from my sort of personal surfing or professional surfing. That one sort of speaks volumes more than I could.
51 errors on each homepage, and homepage is where most efforts were being put into for designing.
It says here the number of detected errors decreased 10.3% since 2024, which generated 56.8 errors per page. So it's going in the right direction.
Yes, it's
but 56 is 51's an outrage. 56 is just, yeah.
The change could be faster, no?
Yeah.
Especially with the help of organizations like the one you're working in.
Yes, yeah. The change could be faster.
We are doing significant jobs, and hopefully we are going to help to change the landscape. And hopefully the next time when we're having an updated podcast, the data will be dropped below 50 errors per page at least. That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about AI tools then. So how have these barriers involved regarding AI tools?
Well, as it stands now, I think AI will be revolutionary in promoting or accessibility. It already has been. You have, for example, ChatGPT, which can write entire documents for you. If, for instance, you had any issues writing documents, it can read documents to you and change them to less complex language, if that's going to be an issue. So that's already significant. That's going to get even more significant with the, as AI progresses. So you're going to have, for example, one organization is Be My Eyes. I don't know if you've come across Be My Eyes. It's an app for people with visual impairments whereby they can access a volunteer to help them through the camera on their phone to help them if they're having difficulty perceiving something, saying something properly. For example, labels on food cans or something like that, or their environment around them. they have a new system, a new AI system. And so, sorry, the one I was describing uses volunteers. It uses people on the phone. The new system is Be My AI. It's a play on the Be My Eyes. Be My AI, which is artificial intelligence providing the information via the user's phone camera. For example, they would be able to point it at, it's like instructions on a cooking instructions, or instructions on a chemical bottle or whatever, something, and they would be able to ask questions about it, and the AI would be able to answer. I've also heard of I've forgotten the name of the organization involved, but there's in development is an app which can interpret sign language. So through the camera phone, so you point your camera at somebody who's signing, the app would be able to interpret that to somebody who couldn't understand sign language in whatever form. It would either be in text or spoken, and then they would be able to answer, and it would appear in whatever form was required, text or whatever. So that's an interesting one. And AI will be able to do lots of really incredibly complex things like that.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
And it's really just the advent of how it's starting to affect accessibility, but it will be, I think, the way it's going to be revolutionary for accessibility. You're already using it yourself. I know that you're making your videos with AI, which you would not, which for this project, to promote this project, and that would be something that you wouldn't be able to do perhaps without AI.
Yes,
you wouldn't, because you need to be talking about hiring somebody with a camera and actors and model releases and all these.
I'm so happy
issues.
you mentioned my podcast series. So I had podcast series that are enabled by AI characters. But for reference, we are real. So yeah, James is real, and so is me. Yeah, so we are real people. But I do have podcast series that we totally use like AI voices and AI characters to make sure that invisible voices are being heard when they are unable to be on camera. Like, a lot of disabled people cannot be on cameras, but their voices can still be heard and their stories can still be told. So I'm so happy you mentioned that. Thank you very much, James. Now let's go to solutions and good practices. Can you share a few examples of effective accessibility practices or tools that, you already share some tools, but let's share a bit more. In your view, make a meaningful difference for users?
As I said, it's AI will be invaluable. So look into it.
And help developing it
and help develop it.
Yeah.
Tools, I've seen screen readers, free screen readers, NVDA screen reader, which is free. All of most of the operating systems, the Macs, either your Mac OS or your iPhone operating system or Android or Windows, all really have quite decent accessibility features now. I mean, there's obviously still ways to go, but they're building in accessibility in the same way that they're building in. It goes hand in hand with they're all having AI built in. They're all having their own personal assistant AI things that pop up every now and again.
Yes.
So that, again, that could be an accessibility tool. So yeah, I mean, basically all the stuff that's built into your phones already and which people can access without having to perhaps spend any money.
Yeah, we are seeing the changes are being made over these years, which is very motivating to see.
Yeah.
And we are just going to make more efforts to make sure more changes are being implemented in the future as well. And it's great that we address the importance of AI tools. And in our project, we're also going to introduce a lot of AI tools as well. Now, regarding the advice for organizations, finally, for organizations that want to strengthen accessibility and inclusion in their communication or digital content, what's the one piece of advice you give to get started?
Well, I feel like I'm answering the questions again.
Yes.
Awareness. Be fully aware of all of the accessibility issues and all the as many accessibility issues as you can, as many accessibility strategies as you can. There's lots of training online, free. We do free training. We do free in-person training. So I actually come to your organisation and train for free, or we do e-learning, as well as, that's our plug, as well as us. There's plenty of organisations which will also provide paid training. They're good as well. AbilityNet do a lot of courses. So it's generally just firstly to be aware of the extent of accessibility, and then take it from there. You'll know what you have to do. You'll know how what you produce in the digital realm can either be accessible or inaccessible to a wide range of people with a wide range of disabilities. So knowing that, you'll know where to go next.
Brilliant.
With that awareness.
Yeah, and that's what our podcast is also helping to achieve as well. So definitely in line with your vision. Thank you so much, James. This has been a really valuable conversation. You have reminded us that accessibility isn't just about meeting standards. It's about creating genuine equality of access and connection for everyone. And to everyone watching, you can learn more about Disability Information Scotland and the resources James mentioned through the episode show notes. So this is Inclusive Futures, Voices for Change. I'm Dr. Ying Wu. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue exploring how inclusion and digital innovation shape higher education and everyone's life. See you next time.